Hey guys, I love onion rings, but lo and behold, every time I go into a restaurant, they're soggy, they're lousy by the time they get to the plate. So I decided I gotta take on this project and make my own, and just listen to this. These are the crispiest onion rings you'll ever make, and so delicious. Little story behind this. King Louis in 1469, I think it was, said, I want a snack. So one of his servants, the cook, made him some onion rings, and he had them, and he said, I don't like these. And you know what happened to the servant? So let's hope this doesn't happen with my onion rings. Let's make them and find out. So what I've got here are some onions. And I'm gonna go ahead and slice these up. And you want them about 1/4 of an inch thick, not too thick, not too thin. And a little trick here, what I usually do is put these in the fridge for 10 or 15 minutes, and it firms them up and stops you from crying. Then I'm just going to break them apart and make them into rings. And of course, you're going to get little rings, big rings, various size rings, but that's all good and fine. Now, another little tip here, guys. I don't know if you can see it, but this little membrane, if you got the time, just pull this out, because what happens is the breading just peels away from this, and the rings are just as good as they should be. So just go ahead and pull that off. Now I got the membrane out, and they're looking pretty good. And guys, if you can't get the membrane out and you're in a hurry, don't sweat it too much. It does make a difference, but not a huge difference. So these guys are looking good. And what I've got here, a pile of onions I didn't use. They're just, they just wouldn't make good rings. So I'm just going to put them in a Ziploc bag and fry them up later for steak or something like that. Okay, now let's make our batter. And we'll start with a cup of all-purpose flour. We'll season this up with about 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, about a teaspoon of ground black pepper, and about 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne, just to give it that bit of heat. And we'll just go ahead and give this a good whisk. Now, of course, you can add the seasoning of your choice, add a bit of garlic, whatever you like, but this is good for me. In with a cup of sparkling water. I just love sparkling water. Once again, a whisking we will go. Now, another tip is you really want that sparkling water. That carbonization really helps, and you want it really, really cold. And you want a consistency something like this, guys. It's just about perfect. The rings are going to stick really nicely to this. Next up, I'm going to grab a handful of my rings, and we're going to dredge these into some cornstarch. Just make sure they're well covered here. Into our batter, and I'm just going to dredge these around in here. I'm using tongs just so, keep it from getting real messy. Then into our breadcrumbs. And we'll just spin these around, and if they ever nicely covered, guys. Wow. Now onto a wire rack. Okay, and now our onion rings are all dredged, and don't these look beautiful, guys? So they are going into some oil set at 350 degrees. And we're going to fry these up until they're a beautiful, beautiful golden brown. Okay, these guys are just about done, or pretty much done here. I'm going to put them in my spider. And we'll set them aside on a wire rack. And I don't know if you heard it, guys, but they are crispy. I could just hear that crunch and munch when they went on the wire rack. And while they're still frying, guys, I just have to interject and say something. Just look at these. So crispy, so beautiful. Oh my goodness, perfectly splendid. And there you have it, guys, our super delicious, ever so crispy onion rings. Believe me, I'm not lying. These are probably the crispiest onion rings I have ever had. All right, my friends, let's grab one up and crunch into them. Just look at this. Spectacular. What more can I say? Okay, let's bite into this and see what we have, and shh, listen for that crunch. And please do not say that was fabricated, that crunch. It's real, it's fantastic, and it is so good. The crispiest, best onion rings I've ever had in my life. What more can I say? Gotta make these guys. King Louis would be proud. No more of that. So good.